Okay, here I'm going to show you how to fix the keypad in the Logitech Harmony 650 and 700 remote. This one was pretty tricky. We're going to need 3 different methods to get all the buttons, but you might not need them all. I'm going to sell these separately. So what we have here is 3 little membrane keypads that'll fix the top buttons and the buttons next to the display. So that's one set. If you have problems with any of these snap buttons, now the ones that make a clicking noise when you push them are metal snap domes. And it's all these, and this. You'll notice the other buttons don't make a clicky noise quite like that. That's the clicky noise. Those are the soft buttons. So the clicky buttons use metal snap domes, and we have a cleaner chemical called deoxit and a little brush for those. And then the rest of the buttons from below the display, we have this 2-part cutout here. These are laser cut parts. We have a glossy film, white film, and then the conductor. This is conductive material, and that takes place of all the conductive contacts on these switches. And I'll show you how to do that. Now this remote I've taken apart a bunch of times, so it's already sort of semi-apart. What you're going to need is a precision screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver. You're not going to get like an old screwdriver out of a kit from the 70s or older. That'll work. We need a nice sharp edges in different sizes of little screwdrivers, because you don't want to strip these screws out. Now I've already taken them out, but there's black screws. There's 4 down here under the battery cover, and then there's 2 underneath this plastic strip here. Now, you're going to need a hair dryer to heat this up. This is just stuck on with sticky. Now, I've taken it off a couple times, so it's going to come off easy. But you would use a hair dryer or a heat gun on low and just warm that up. It takes longer than that, but you just get it nice and warm, not burning hot or bending or melting. But and then you can get in there with a pick or a sharp knife, and you get under it and just sort of lift it off. And there are 2 screw holes under that, and this will stay sticky, hopefully, so you can get it back on. And so you take those 4 screws and those 2 screws out, and then what you need is a nice flat screwdriver, small flat screwdriver. And what you do is, we're not prying, we're just getting into the groove there, like that, and then you slide the screwdriver up the slot, and a snap came out. You keep doing it, another snap came out, and that sides out. And there's a couple in the back, but I'm just going to go up both sides like that. So I'm using the wedge of the screwdriver to push the plastic apart, and then the bottom snap, will just come off. So we got that piece off. There's a little plastic, this is a transparent for infrared light, and that comes off like that. And then you'll have 3 more silver screws like this, and run there, and one down at the bottom. So you take those screws off and that one, and then you can take the board out. Before we take off the white layer, we need to clean the buttons that weren't working right, and might as well clean them all. So you need some isopropyl alcohol. 91% is the best. I like 91%. If you only have 70, you can get away with it. It's just got more water in it. It takes longer to dry. But you can wet a Q-tip for these and just clean the buttons one at a time. If you're having specific buttons that are giving you trouble, obviously you want to pay more attention to those, but you really want to go over all of these buttons. Even if you think they look fine, there could just be a little bit of a coating, just invisible kind of oxidized coating on there that will prevent them from working as well as they really can. Top ones are easier because that white film isn't there. So spend a lot of time on any buttons that weren't working well for you, like the power or volume or whatever. Now, this one was really hard to get working because this plastic light pipe here, this will come out. If it does come out, you don't really need to take it out, but if you do, you one side has some black rings and the one side is all white, and you want the all white side down when you put it back together on top of the rubber. Now that light pipe, plastic, means the buttons just barely go past that, and so there's not a lot of room to work with there. The standard membrane keypad that I use, when put in between the circuit board and this, it just wouldn't work. You'd have to push really hard on the buttons, and there's also this layer here which helps reflect the light around. So when it's sandwiched in there, the light bounces in the clear plastic. And that caused problems too. I tried a bunch of different things, but what I ended up with that works, I've tested this, is we're basically going to put a little sandwich in here. Now this is going to replace, this black part replaces the conductive material, so these black dots won't complete the switch anymore. They will push down on this film, and this film will complete the switch. So that ends up going down on top of this white film on the keyboard, like that. And now we still need the light to bounce back around. So I have this white film that goes on top of it, and then when you put it back together, those black dots will now complete the switch. Now for the top buttons, I've already installed these membrane keypads in here, and they just peel. You peel it off and you stick it down, and they line up really well with the holes and the edges. So that goes there, and then there's two little ones that just go over there, and when you put those down, just line them up with the edge, the outside edge of the circuit board, and you can see the black dot covers the gold contacts. Now it would be hard to do, but you don't want the black dot to go over the edge there. That is gold plated, conducting. It's a ground, but so you wouldn't want that black dot to be able to touch the black, but you'd have to be way off on this to do that. So if you want to fix these top buttons, you would peel and stick that on. If you want to fix any other rubber buttons, it's this part here. Now for the metal snap domes, these need to be basically just treated with a cleaning chemical. Unfortunately, I already cut a line here. This isn't supposed to be here, but what you would do is heat up this film with a hairdryer. You get it nice and warm. You just want it warm. That softens the adhesive, and then you can get down and start picking off at a corner. And if you need some help, maybe a little knife or something to lift up the corner, and then you can get in there with your fingernails and start just peeling it off. Now, this one, unfortunately, I cut, so that came right off, but it would just peel back. So what you want to do is if you're fixing these snap domes, you can peel back. You don't want to take this whole thing off because then it's hard to line up. So you go up like halfway, or in this case, I'm going to go up to here, so then I can get all these buttons. So I'll go up like that, and that opens up all these metal buttons. And what you can do is I have this little vial. You don't need very much of this stuff. It's deoxit cleaner and a little brush, and you can just get the brush wet like that. Now this doesn't stand up well unless you have something to put it in, so I'm going to put the cap back on. And you can just get those contacts, and they look like little bullseyes, so they're easy to spot. And you get that, just clean them up like that. Now if you got like a spill in here and it was all corroded and like, you know, green, fuzzy corrosion or rust or whatever, dark spots, you would want to clean it with rubbing alcohol first. And that would be isopropyl alcohol, and I recommend 91% isopropyl alcohol. And you would just use a Q-tip, get isopropyl alcohol, and really clean up that and the buttons too, to get basically the built up corrosion and chemicals, whatever dried up and got left in there. So I'm gonna get this really soaking wet and just sit there, and you want to just get a little bit on each one of these. It doesn't take much at all, and you could do the buttons themselves too if you want. But really what we want to get is the outside edge and the center. The center touches the outside edge touches out there. But if they look okay, they're not corroded from a spill, you can just do this, and it'll leave a little bit of the fluid in there. And then once you layer this back down, it'll be stuck in there. It'll take a long time for that to dry up because it's sealed. And you can just, the more you push these buttons now, the better they'll get. They'll be cleaning themselves for quite some time. So now I've done the bottom, and then I would just reverse it and peel away the top. And then you could do the top buttons again. I need to get some more on there, but do the top buttons and then put that back down. So that's how you would fix the metal snap domes. So now for putting this back together, you wouldn't have this normally. Put that there. We've got the rubber keypad in the phone. Now if you did have a spill, you might want to pull this out and clean it in hot water, dry it off really good. So that goes back down there, and I'll make sure you don't put it in upside down with so you shouldn't be able to see these black rings. And it's got the white film on that side. So this side, the white film is underneath. So now I'm going to put down this white film. And it can go either way. So it can go down that way, or you can flip it over. One side's a little dirty. So I'm going to put it down with the, actually I want the, doesn't matter, but put it down like that. And then the black layer goes on top of that. So when you're done or ready to put the circuit board on, you would see the black layer. And at this point, if you've gotten fingerprints on the display, you might want to clean that off. Dry Q-tip. Glass cleaning. There's glasses or glass cleaning cloths are good for that. Mine's dirty, but you can clean that off. If you got any fingerprints in there, you could clean that off. And then you just put the circuit board on top of that. And that will take care of all the buttons. We'll put the two screws back on. I mean the three silver screws. There's two up here. And one down on the bottom. So there's kind of a spot here that looks like it's not a screw post, but it kind of looks like those, but that's not a screw post. It's just those two and that one. Now to get the remote back together, the first thing you got to do is this part up here. And that would just sits on top of the USB plug, and then you take that and put it down on the, actually the easiest way I think is to try to line those 4 posts up down there over the 4 screw posts. Yeah, and then you just snap it back together. Yeah. It should go together without any gaps. And then you would put the 2 black screws in there, the 4 black screws down here, and then this piece will it's just cosmetic. Should just stick back down over that. There we go. And that would fix all your buttons. The more you use these snap domes, the better they'll work. They'll be cleaning themselves. And the black film works better also once it's been used a little bit. You might, if you have any of these buttons that don't work really well, the more you push them, it starts to form a little bit. And the only problem with that black film is I don't really like how the number keys respond, because they were so small. All these other ones are big and they work really well. But these small buttons, you have to push a little bit harder than original if they were working great before. If you don't really use these buttons, you might want to consider just taking that piece of paper and the black piece and just cutting off. And then if none of these buttons are giving you problems, they'll work like new. If they were giving you problems, then it's going to work better now with that black film in there, and you should never have problems again. Other than that, these work great for the top buttons and the side buttons, and everything should be working good now.